Football Game Plan's Fantasy Football Draft Special. I'm Emory Hunter, the playbook, alongside our Football Game Plan analyst, Cornell Hunter, and we're talking defense right now. And defensively, you got a lot of good defenses out there, and you have teams that also have outstanding returners, and we know that can help you get more points on your defensive team and your entire team as a unit. So I'm gonna go with defense this time. I'm gonna allow him to ask me the defense. I'm gonna go with defense.
So who's the number one defense?
The number one defense clearly by far has to be the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team that returns everybody from last year's ball club. They've gotten better. They also have very good special teams with Ted Ginn, and now you look at guys maybe like Kendall Hunter, LaMichael James are going to be returning kicks. That right there is very impressive. They were the number one defense last year. You can't argue with that. I have to go with the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, so who graded out as your number two defense?
Yeah, ready for the surprise. The number two defense, in my opinion, you guys have to go with this. It's the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to tell you right now, the Seattle Seahawks have one of the better defenses in the NFL. They're going to be top 5 statistically, and the reason why I have them number 2, I like the return game as well. Leon Washington can return kicks. The defense, they will get after the quarterback. So you look at a defense in Seattle that will get a lot of sacks. It will stop the run, so the total yardage will be there. And also, they have ball hawking playmakers in the secondary. Earl Thomas, they bring back Marcus Trufant, Brandon Brown, another guy, big 6'4", type of corner, and also you look at Cam Chancellor, the safety, that's another big guy. So I like the Seattle Seahawks defense.
All right, well, who made the list as your number 3 defense?
The number 3 defense is the team. You guys down there in Houston already know what I'm gonna say. This team plays like they're on bath salts. They're crazy, they're zombies, they're monsters. The Houston Texans gotta be the number 3 defense. Getting better after you use a guy of the caliber of Mario Williams is very impressive. This defense gets after the quarterback. Brian Cushing can get after the QB. You look at Brooks Reed, the rookie out of Arizona last year, can get after the QB. The secondary, which was a detriment, is now quite possibly a strength. So you look at a team that's going to get sacks and they're going to get interceptions, and you look at their return, that's the biggest question I have. I don't know who their returner is going to be, but maybe it's going to be Keyshawn Martin out of Michigan State. He can also return the football. But their defense will put up a lot of points just on sacks alone.
All right, and who made the list as your number 4 ranked fantasy defense?
Well, you got to go with consistency here. You got to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I don't care who else is out there. As long as Ray Lewis is out there, they're going to be good defensively. The secondary will have Ed Reed. Yep. He erases mistakes. That's important. Cornerback play, Ladarius Webb played outstanding last year. I like what they bring to the table as far as defense is concerned. The return game lacks, but defensively, they will put up a lot of points.
All right, and who's your 5th ranked defense?
5th ranked defense is going to be the Chicago Bears, and this is why. Not because they have a boatload of talent. Chicago is very solid defensively, but now with a great offense and now being able to just play downhill as far as defense, playing downhill, just rushing the quarterback, I think they're going to do fine. They have a great cornerback in Charles Peanut Tillman, UL Lafayette Racing Cajun right there. They also have future Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher, and the return game. Peppers
Briggs, I'm sorry.
Man, Peppers and Briggs. Yeah,
you run off the name. That Chicago Bears.
They're going to get after the quarterback. And with Hester returning kicks, you almost want to put them number 1. But everywhere else, they are very good defensively, and Hester will make that a very good squad.
All right, so who missed the top 5? Who was your number 16?
I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I know everyone points at the age, but I look at the way they play defense. I think right now the offense, I still have a question about the offense because of the new offensive coordinator. So that defense will be stretched to the limit by being put on the field just a little bit more than what they're used to doing. So I don't think they're going to be as aggressive as the guys I have above them. In the return game, I know they have Mike Wallace and also Antonio Brown. So I just don't feel comfortable about the Steelers in fantasy as opposed to the rest of the defenses.
All right, well, who made it as your 7th ranked team?
I like the Philadelphia Eagles because you look at a team that had over 50 sacks last year, led the league in sacks. Quietly, as bad as everyone said they played defensively, they led the league in sacks. So now with all the additions, you look at adding more talent to that defensive line. You add Fletcher Cox, you get better play from your cornerbacks, you get a full off season. These guys should repeat as sack leaders, and also now they're going to catch more interceptions. Dominic Rogers Cromartie should bounce back and have a very stellar year.
Have Asamoah as well.
And I like the safeties. I'm a big fan of Nate Allen out of South Florida, so I think the Eagles are going to be fine defensively, and their special teams are always going to be sound. Deshaun Jackson, outstanding punt returner. You can't forget about that guy.
All right, what about your 8th-ranked defense?
8th-ranked defense, I'm going to go with another surprise here. I'm going with Green Bay. A lot of people have Green Bay higher. I'm not sold on Green Bay's ability to get to the quarterback just yet. They got to prove it out on the field. So this is July, this is off season. So I think Green Bay is going to be fine in football, but on fantasy, not right now. And I don't know who the returner is, so you still have
Kyle.
Well, Kyle, here's the thing. Outside of week 1, Cobb wasn't a threat in the return game, so you still have some questions. So I have Green Bay right there at number 8.
All right, who's number 9 on your list?
Big surprise here. I'm going with the Washington Redskins. People forget how good the Redskins defense was last season. I think the Redskins defense will be again up to the task of putting pressure on quarterback. The question I have about those guys is on the corner. I know D'Angelo Hall always comes up with interceptions, but opposite of him, I have some questions. I also have some questions about the safety position, but I think their points will be made from sacks. I think this team will be able to get to the quarterback with Kerrigan and also Iraq will having that team meeting, like we used to say, at the quarterback.
All right, and who rounds out your top 10 for defenses?
Top 10 for defense, going with the New York Giants, a team that matches up well with a lot of teams as long as the receivers don't have speed. So they will never match up well with the Philadelphia Eagles, but they will match up well with teams like the Packers. They'll match up well with teams like the Cowboys and the Redskins. And with that defense being able to get sacks, you get Marvin Austin back, you get depth on that defensive line. OC finally got paid, so he's happy. So I think you're going to see the best out the Giants defense. And those guys can catch interceptions. I like the way they go to that big nickel look, the safeties. So I like the Giants defense rounding out my top 10.
All right, and as always, we're going to take a look at the rankings of the defense from number 11 all the way down to 32.
Now you look at the rest of the defense, you have to like the Jets defense. They will be able to get to the quarterback. They play downhill, so you have to like that aspect about them. Cincinnati has a sleeper type of defense, guys. I want you to keep an eye on this team. Their defense will be outstanding. The Dallas Cowboys, another team that will lead the league, be one of the league leaders in sacks. They can get after the quarterback, and they also improve their secondary. You look at Arizona, very good defense and an outstanding returner in Patrick Peterson. The Titans defense is always tough, very tough to score upon, so you can get points from that aspect of their defense. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a very underrated defense. They're going to be on the field a lot, but they will also get a lot of stops because they have a very solid front 7. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, very aggressive linebacking core that can also make plays as far as interceptions. I look for their defense to be very good this season. The Buffalo Bills improved their defensive front. They moved to a 4-3. Keep an eye on the Bills moving up. The Falcons add Asante Samuel in the secondary. That should lead to more interceptions, and that can get you points. The Miami Dolphins has always had a very good defense, and I like their return game. They're going to bring in Lamar Miller. He's going to be a returner there. You also look at the Denver Broncos. They can get after the quarterback with Von Miller, Elvis Dumervil and company. They've also improved on the interior. The Chargers add Melvin Ingram as a rookie. Should be promising to help bolster that pass rush they have out there in San Diego. Health was a big concern for the Carolina Panthers last year. They've gotten healthier, so they're going to have an improved defense. The Patriots always come away with interceptions. I like their secondary as a whole. The Browns were able to get pass rush. Can they stop the run? That's going to be the biggest question, but they also have Josh Cribbs as a returner. The Saints have some solid linebackers now. How will that translate to sacks? That's the biggest question. The Raiders, now they're going to play multiple style defense, so that should help improve that unit. The question I have about the Raiders is, can they cover? Can they catch your interception? But the return game is going to be outstanding. You look at the Detroit Lions. They're a little bit overrated as far as defense is concerned. They don't have a returner of note, and that's going to be the biggest reason why they dropped so far on the list. St. Louis is a young and improving team because they can move up on this list with some outstanding return play. And you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the new coach down there, Greg Schiano. How well will they improve? They have a lot of holes still on that defense. The Vikings will be able to get to the quarterback, but everywhere else they have some question marks. And the young and changing 3-4 defense of the Colts will be something that you want to keep an eye on. That's the biggest question I have about the Colts defense this year.
Now let's take a look at the kickers. The kickers play a huge role in fantasy football because they have access to direct points. Exactly. So what are your rules for drafting a kicker? I know you got 4, so let's start with number 1.
Well, I look at this. When you're drafting a kicker, as he just said, the kicker can play an important role because they have quick access to points. I mean, 3 points is like 30 yards, so they can build up points quick. The number one rule I look for in a kicker, stay away from them until the end of the round, but you want to make sure that you draft a dome kicker, because that guarantees that you're going to have at least 8 good weather games. Now, if you travel and play a dome team on the road, that's even better, but I look for the best dome kicker because I want to make sure that my kicker is playing in good kicking weather.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you want ideal situations for kicking field goals. That allows you to get better depth on your kicks. You can kick 60-yarders inside as opposed to outside.
Exactly. My second rule is you want to try to take a kicker that's on a terrible offense. The reason being that team may get down to scoring position but never score the ball, which is what you want if you have that kicker. So I mean, I hate when I'm in a fantasy league and that team is just driving, the team has 35 points and your kicker has 5 points because they scored 5 touchdowns. If you get a kicker that's on an offense that's not too successful in the red zone, that's the type of kicker you want. So try to get a kicker from a struggling team because they tend to put up more points.
That makes a lot of sense. Kickers on those bad teams do exceptionally well, but it kind of ties into your third point, which is...
And the third point is you want to take a kicker on a great team because you know that team is going to be moving the ball down the field and you hope that they don't score because that kicker is then going to get that opportunity to give you the 3 points or the 4 points depending on how your system is graded. But take the kicker on a great team if he's available.
And what's the last point you want to make about drafting a kicker?
Take Janikowski because he's kicking from anywhere. So if you want to take a kicker early, the Raiders have been known to let this guy kick the ball from the back of the stadium. So it really doesn't matter. The fourth rule is take Janikowski.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that guy right there. That guy could make kicks anywhere. Did he try a 70-yarder?
Yeah, no, listen,
last year
in the league I had about 18 points from Janikowski because in most leagues they give you bonus points if it's a 50-yarder. And he's known to hit 50-yarders, so you get bonus points added to your score. So take Janikowski. He's a sure bet to kick field goals. The Raiders struggle in the red zone, and he'll kick it from distance.
Exactly. I like that Janikowski. That's good advice right there. So let's take a look at how you rated these kickers from top to bottom.
And as Cornell said, you can take Sebastian Janikowski early on if you have to draft the kicker. He can kick from the moon. Mason Crosby is another guy that can boom it from anywhere on the football field. David Akers plays with the 49ers, and we know how much they struggled last year in the red zone. Robbie Gould, same issues with the Bears, but he should get a lot of opportunities because they have a very explosive offense now. Matt Bryant kicks a lot of field goals indoor, dome kicker with the Falcons. Matt Prater made a name for himself last year as kicking field goals well over 60+ yards. Jason Hanson, the wily old vet that still has a strong enough leg and is very accurate. Neil Rackers plays with the rookie quarterback, so you expect their offense to stall a little bit, and he should get some opportunity to kick field goals. Rob Baronis, consistency. One of the more consistent kickers in the National Football League, and Adam Vinatieri is one of those guys that could be a future Hall of Famer. Also kicks indoors and playing with the rookie quarterback. We'll be back with more fantasy football coverage after this commercial break.